Hello friends, Tanya here with a video for Spellbinders, and this time I am featuring these darling girls and foiled backgrounds. This is the Delightful Darlings bundle, and it is available as a bundled price for a limited time. They only have, well, maybe limited quantity. They only have a few of these before they go, but they are so cute. This is Darling Celebrations, and it is one girl with a few accessories and 3 sentiments that fit between her spread arms. I'm also going to be using the Darling Hugs later in this video. And these girls are both 4¼ inches tall and fit perfectly on A2 size cards, Slimline cards, and 5x7 cards. I've stamped these two girls next to each other on a piece of scrap paper, and you can see that they are the same height. The girl with the spread arms is a little bit smaller, but with her hands spread, she is still the same height. I'm going to show you how these words so easily stamp between her hands. There's the thank you and the congratulate or congrats and happy birthday. So you can use this sentiment or this stamp set for several different occasions. And I just so happened to stamp those on 4¼ by 5½ inch pieces of cardstock. Now I took the little headband and I stamped that on a scrap of paper, and I'm coloring it with a couple of yellows. I believe this is Y18 and Y04. And I'm going to do something I don't do a whole lot. I am going to fussy cut this, but right up to the black line, because I don't want any white showing when I glue this to her hair. I am not the greatest fussy cutter. However, I am getting better because I've been practicing more. And this is a teeny tiny image. However, it wasn't that tough. It did try to run away once, but I did get it cut out. Now I'm going to glue this on with a little bit of the Barely Arts Precision Glue, and I am using the Spellbinders reverse tweezers to get a hold of this tiny image. It is so handy for so many reasons. And there are a couple of ways you can glue this on. I put this on a little so it lined up with the part in her hair, and then I decided I didn't like that and moved it a little bit. And I did color this girl off screen. Now to make this background, I did Glimmer hot foil this background with the Slimline Confetti plates after I had used my brayer to ink up this panel with this multicolored stamp pad. We're also going to use the Essentials ovals to die cut a piece of vellum to put behind the girl, because that is a really busy background. So I wanted to add a little bit of definition between the girl and the background. And we're going to stamp this happy birthday sentiment in Versamark ink after I get my placement right. Now I could have just left all of that stuff in the MISTI, picked up my stamp, and then moved my extra stuff, but I didn't. I wasn't thinking. I was just on a roll. And I do end up stamping this twice with Versamark to make sure I get a good solid image. This is a thick lined sentiment, so I wanted to make sure the embossing was solid. I'm using some alabaster white embossing powder. I believe this is fine detail. And I just used the end of my pokey tool to remove some of just a tiny smidge of extra embossing powder. I had used my embossing buddy, or my little bag of cornstarch, to make sure that I didn't have too much static on the vellum. Now with vellum, it does heat very quickly, so you have to be careful you don't warp it too much. I have die cut that oval, And now I am going to start assembling the card. I have a 5x7 card base in 110-pound white cardstock, and I have already put coaster blanks behind the layers. We're going to put this layer that is cut down to 4.5 by 6.5 onto the card base first. And I have already put some coaster blank pieces behind the girl, and we're going to glue that to the vellum, just carefully placing that so the happy birthday sentiment lines up correctly between her hands. And then I'm going to add a little more coaster blank behind the vellum behind the girl. I've already trimmed these pieces down, and I don't often show you how I put the coaster blanks on behind images because I feel like it's a pretty simple process. You just trim them to fit with your scissor. The nice thing about using coaster blanks is it isn't sticky. It doesn't stick to your scissors. You can cut it with whatever, dies, scissors, trimmers, whatever you want to use. And I do have a link to where I get my coaster blanks in the description box below. I did decide that I wanted to glue the top part of the oval down to the card. I didn't want it getting stuck in the envelope when you take it in and out. And that completes what I'm going to show you how I made this card. I do add some gemstones later. Next up, we're going to use the Darling Hugs stamp set. She is adorable, hugging her little stuffed kitty, and there are 3 headband options for this one. I am going to show you the Copic coloring for this one, and I'll try to remember to do a screenshot of the colors that I use. We're going for a soft pink on this particular girl, and I'm just going to quickly color. I'm using the mid-tone first. No, I think it was the darkest one. And then I decided to come back with a darker red for the trim on her top. To me, this looks like pajamas. And I think these kitty slippers are adorable. I had to make them pink. They just had to be. This is my E11 and my E13, and these are some of my favorite skin tone colors. My E11 is in desperate need of a refill, so it doesn't blend as well as I would like. I'm going to have to stop using it until I get a refill for my ink, my marker. That's heartbreaking. What do you have favorite flesh tone colors, markers? Would it break your heart if you couldn't use just one of them? I would love to hear. I do forget to turn the recorder on for the kitty, but that was E31, 33, and 35. Now we're going to do her with some dark auburnish hair. I just decided I wanted to throw a little bit of red in. I know, they say redheads can't wear pink. I think that's a lie. And I'm just doing some quick flicking motions. I start out by laying down the darker areas using the lightest marker just to map it out, and then I go back with the other markers and fill it in. I'm using a 05 white Sakura Jelly Roll pen to cover any oops outside the line, and added some Wink of Stella for some sparkle. Now these are the foiled brushstroke foil plates, and I am using the Opal foil. And the tricky part about this foil is you can't tell which side is the right side, or the right side, when you are just looking at the piece. So my advice to you is use it as soon as you take it off the roll, because the right side is the side that's facing out on the roll. I almost put the wrong side on this. I had to flip. You saw me flip the foiling. And I have laid these on my platform. I had heated it up, laid the foil on top, put the paper on, and then the 2 plates. Now I'm going to just move these down on the platform, And I wouldn't have to do that. I really just need to move the paper. However, it's a little easier if you give yourself a little more space and you just keep going until you've foiled an entire piece. This happens to be 5.5 by 8.5 inch. Now we're going to take this Scallop Façade frame die set. This is one from Becca. She does a lot of 5x7 layering sets, and this is a 5x7 layering set. And we're going to just use this outer frame to create a frame for the whole image. So I'm going to use my fancy glitter plates from Spellbinders. I love these plates. They're so pretty. So pretty. And they're the same price as regular ones. They're only available on Spellbinders. Now we're going to take the rectangle that fits right inside that frame, and I'm going to tape it down using the Spellbinders tape for, it's kind of like washi. It's a repositionable tape. It's a little more sticky than washi, but we're going to use that to hold that down. You got to be careful to not put it over the foiling. Here I'm showing you the different headband options for this girl. She's got 4 of them. She's got a big sunshine, a big bow with a headband. We've got a flower headband and just a single bow that you could put on all kinds of things. I've decided I want to use this Hugs sentiment, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to put it. I think I'm going to tuck it by her waist here and just position that on there. And I'm going to heat emboss this. I'm going to learn something new in this process. I'm just going to line this all up in my MISTI and pick up the stamp with the lid of the MISTI. And here we're going to see that the clear stamp picked up the foiling where it was touching. So you got to be careful there. It only happened when I pushed the lid down, but we're going to use some Versamark to add this sentiment, and we're going to heat emboss it with copper embossing powder. I thought that would go well with her hair and this pink and red theme here. And I am going to just use a dry brush and the tip of my pokey tool to get rid of any extra embossing powder. Going to heat set this very quickly, and it does, you can tell on the foiling if you look really closely that it's been heat embossed, but unless you're really being super critical, you can't tell. I'm using my Barely Arts precision glue to assemble this card again. And I have already put coaster blanks behind the layers. This fits perfectly on a 5x7 white cardstock base. It is a 110 cardstock base. This is the second layer with the beautiful foiling, which shows up much better on video than it does on the still photos. You'll see that later. And I'm going to adhere the girl who already has some coaster blank behind her also. I love that, a little kitty. At this point, I decided this card front was just a little too subtle, needed a little extra something. So I pulled out the clear mix or crystal mix from Spellbinders. These are new also, and they are 2 different tones of crystal on this one. There's a slightly milkier looking one and a slightly more iridescent looking version. And each of these colors of gems comes in 4 different sizes. They have the teeny tiniest size, and they're all adhesive backed, so you don't have to use another adhesive to stick them down. And I love that spread from corner to corner. Now inside, I was just going to simply stamp this Love You So Much sentiment, and I was trying to figure out how to get this stuffed kitty to coordinate or to work well with this, and was struck with an idea. I am using a stamp platform that has 2 open sides, which makes it easy for me to add sentiments to the card, especially a 5x7 card. And then I decided I was going to do some masking and ink blending with a heart. I thought that would be perfect, and I'm looking to see what color is going to match my color theme on the front. I ended up going with, I believe that is, gosh, I think it's abandoned coral. I'm pretty sure it is. Now I got to make sure I don't get ink all over my card front other than where I want it. So I'm using the Spellbinders tape here. I really can't remember what it's called. Yellow tape, probably. However, friendly reminder, it is pretty darn sticky, stickier than washi tape. And because I'm going to pull it back off, I should have stuck it to my skin or some cloth or something first to take a little bit of that adhesive off, because I did end up pulling up some of the paper on my cardstock. However, that doesn't have to be a big problem. I'm ignoring it pretty much here. So now I'm deciding that I am going to take that little kitty stamp, stuffed kitty, and I'm going to stamp it repeatedly with the same ink. It'll be darker, and then I think, oh, you silly girl, put that stencil back on because it will prevent you from stamping the kitty outside of the ink blended heart. So then I go ahead and stamp the kitty all over the heart. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just being stamped all over. I love that tone on tone works perfectly because the ink blending is lighter than the stamped image, and Distress Oxides stamp very nicely. I don't even have to worry about stamping twice. So there are all of my kitties. I love the crisp edge that you get when you use a mask or a stencil. Now I'm going to center the sentiment in the middle of that heart and use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp the sentiment. I do end up stamping it twice. I did not precondition that stamp, and this is the first time I used it, so it did need a little extra this particular time. Either that or I need to re-ink my VersaFine Onyx Black. I do use it a lot. So that is the second card, and I love the inside of that card. It could have been a card front all on its own. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know which of these cards you liked better, or if you liked them both equally. Was the birthday card just a little too busy? I did try it with some, or lay it on some single colored background and single colored foiling, and it does look fantastic on that too. If you liked these cards, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in any of the products I used today, they are, as always, listed and linked in the description box below. And if you are interested in how I made that multicolor background, I will have that linked here along with another video for you to enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.